Welcome to Drunken Monkey Tech, Throwback Thursday. Last week I called it Thursday Throwback.
Oh.
We had a bit to drink, though, when we did it. Because it is the Drunken Monkey Tech.
It is true.
My name's Matt.
And I'm Lee.
And, we're going to cover another piece of gaming history this week, something that's near and dear to my heart.
Mine too.
And, I guess I can just get us there and show it. We are going to talk about Joust. Probably saw that in the title of the show
Joust.
anyway. But I love me some Joust.
I do too.
You know, it's one of those few games that has aged remarkably well.
It really, really has. I was kind of surprised when we got back in. It'd been a minute, and it just super easy to just jump right back into.
Oh, yeah. And we had a friend over recording another podcast, and her son was playing while we were recording.
Yeah.
And he was loving it.
Yeah, it's a cool game.
He never played before. It was, he's a teenager. It was before his time. But, I'm going to throw up the arcade footage. Now, this is from 1982, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And the very first time that I saw this game was in a Smith's grocery store. And they had replaced the Gorf machine with this. Later on came Discs of Tron. They put that in the same place. But, or I guess it was just Tron, not Discs of Tron. But this game was endlessly fascinating. And I had heard the myth that you could kill the pterodactyl. It took weeks, maybe months, before I saw someone do it. I never did it, but...
I don't know that I've ever done it either.
Yeah, this was my preteen years. I was playing some Joust. I spent way too much money on
Oh, yeah,
on this.
me too. I think the first place I ever played this was an arcade in... probably Oklahoma. And this is one of those games that immediately is like crack. The minute you start playing it and get the mechanics, you just can't stop.
It's easy.
Yeah,
It's
super simple.
Nothing complex. It's not like Defender. I mean, we'll probably talk Defender at some point where, you need a physics degree to be able to play the damn thing and an extra hand. Defender was hard.
It was good though.
But this was nice and easy, and, a lot of times you could, just by sheer luck, do okay in this game.
Yep.
So, there
Sorry,
you
I was
go.
all watching me catch the egg there.
Yeah. So let's see. We actually played an awful lot of different versions of this. But it's kind of funny. The Atari 2600 version was actually pretty good.
It really was. I was super surprised by that. Usually you get back into the 2600, especially after you've played the arcade version of anything, and you feel like you're, hobbled, and you're dealing with, boxy pixels and...
Yeah, it just felt good.
Yeah.
One of the weird things is, and we're going to figure this out in the near future, but, it's back to the
right.
what they call frame blitzing on the Atari 2600 to make up for lack of system resources. They would draw things at different times alternately. So as you watch this footage, you'll notice some things come and go, and that's because they weren't drawn every frame. And we were capturing at 30 frames a second. I've got a way to modify the machine we're using to capture at 29.97 frames per second, which will be more accurate. But it does really weird things. If you look, it puts everything off sync. It was pretty much every other frame, and then as it catches up in those three frames every 100 frames, I know it's a long video thing, then it'll swap to what it's showing.
Well, and it really is about the capture, not the game itself. When you play the game, everything looks perfectly normal.
Yeah.
I will say there's odd egg physics in this version.
When you can't see the
up.
egg, they go up and they keep going and going and going.
And once they get way up, then they start to come back down. But it's like they float up first instead of down.
Bloop, 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 bloop. Oh, I hear the pterodactyl.
Yep. I think he got me. That's where that was.
All right. So, it's the frame blitzing thing, the flash that you got in a lot of 2600 games. I'm going to move on to the Atari 7800. Oh, see, there's an egg.
Yep.
Okay. So, The Atari 7800. This looked remarkably better. And other than there being some, I don't know, some blockiness, it really was very close to the arcade experience.
It was really close. It's really just about those graphics. They were so much better than the 2600 already at this point, but by the time you get to the arcade, of course, it was much prettier. And you can see they fixed the eggs physics.
Yeah, they actually,
this one.
but they're white eggs. They're not green eggs.
Yeah.
And ham, I'm sure.
Oh,
but yeah, there was a bit of a problem you didn't experience in the arcade, and you're seeing that right now. The arcade version, if it would spawn you away from the enemies.
Yep.
And not spawn enemies if you were standing on the platform. Not so much in the Atari 7800
no,
version.
It kept spawning me right under the bad guys.
Yeah. So maybe not as cool as the arcade version that way.
Yeah, it was a little bit buggy that way.
How do you really mess the gameplay on this up?
You really can't. I mean,
physics are pretty
it's simple,
easy.
right? You have one button, and it flaps your wings. And the harder you flap, the higher you go, and your job is to stay above the other guys and hit them.
Now, this did come to some mobile platforms, some portable gaming. It did come to the Atari Lynx.
Oh.
And we did play that as well. And if you look, it's a lot blockier, but it still played really well.
I didn't find that there was any of them that was terrible to play. Which you expect with really old games. You expect to at least find one version that's just terrible.
But you're watching this on your 4K TV right now. Probably was blocky as hell. But really, on the small screen that the Lynx had, this wouldn't be an issue.
No.
I mean, stand like 10 feet, 20 feet back from where you are right now, and you'd probably get an idea of what it looked like on a portable system.
I think this one was easier to control. It was easier to get that hover than the 78 and the 26.
The periodic flapping of the wings that keeps you just about.
Yeah, that being able to kind of hover right where you wanted to. It was more difficult in the older versions. It was a little erratic that way.
And you got green eggs again?
Yep.
You got the survival points on that. All right. Well, then let's move on to the Nintendo Entertainment System version, the NES, and it has some things that are very particular to the NES. The color palette is very, very similar in the way the sprites are drawn. You can tell it's an NES game. We're back to white eggs.
We're also back to spawning right under bad guys.
And let's face it, the NES never did have a good sound chip in it. I mean, not to say there wasn't some great video game music for the NES, but the sound chip always just sounded nasty, almost as bad as the Atari 2600. That's my opinion. But Joust is one of those games that I could always play, and probably always will play.
Yeah, really on any platform I can get it on.
So I need Joust on my Vita.
There you go.
Someone make that happen.
Somebody
I
make
love
that
my
happen.
Vita.
I would totally take Joust to lunch with me.
With a trophy set.
Yeah.
A platinum trophy, even.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, man, you'd have to kill that pterodactyl.
You know it. I think I've seen that 3 times in my life.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not sure that I've ever accomplished it. I played a lot of Joust when I was younger, though.
Kind of a quick hit on this. We were a little long-winded on Popeye.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was we were setting things up for future shows. We want to keep them kind of shorter.
Yeah.
Not necessarily half an hour each one.
No.
But yeah, 10 minutes, that's what we've been doing. I think that's pretty good. So if you would like to know more about us, you can go to bagofmadbastards.com. That's the home site. We are Drunken Monkey Tech. We also do a regular podcast. We do a trophy hunting show that comes out on Tuesdays. We do a lot of stuff, plus a lot of other podcasts at bagofmadbastards.com. The whole
Absolutely.
bomb We call ourselves Bomb Family.
Bomb Entertainment.
Yeah, hey, check it out. We also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/drunkenmonkeytech, all one word. If you go there, you can help us out, encourage us to do more of this, pay for some of the gear that we're using to be able to do this, and maybe some gear that'll help us do it better. And if you are a patron, for as little as $1, you get to decide what games we get to cover on this show. We put up polls, and you get to help decide which games happen next.
Cool.
All right. We're also on Facebook. You can find us there. Just go to bagofmadbastards.com. You get all the links to our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitch account, our YouTube account, the audio podcast, merchandise. It's all there. Just bagofmadbastards.com. If you want to reach us via email and you want to send it to both of us, you can send an email to dmtpodcast at bagofmadbastards.com. Or if you want to reach me alone, my email address is matt@bagofmadbastards.com.
And I can be reached at lee@bagofmadbastards.com.
All right. So until next time, goodbye.
Bye.